Lucy. No, I'm not going to do that.
Every time I'm always excited to see how you intro these, and that was legitimately not in my top 7 guesses of something you would actually attempt to do. Wow.
It was legitimately not in your top 7.
Yeah, not in my top 7. I would have never believed you would have attempted the Lucy, I am home. Like, I would not have believed you would have done it.
That's fair.
Just because, like, your attempt at it would turn into, like, a VeggieTales character. Like, it would have turned into the Archibald. Lucy! Like, you just gone up there and never come down. Anyway, that's Caleb Bowman.
That's fair. And that is Caleb Koho, and this is FilmograFeed. Welcome back, everybody. We are talking Being the Ricardos. We're just going to let Koho go straight into context. This is us wrapping up Sorkin, but we're going to let Koho go straight into context because, let's be honest, we're not here for the context. We're here for the fight that everybody knows is coming. So get your popcorn ready. We'll get our boxing gloves on. We'll see what happens.
So it was first announced in September 2015 with Cate Blanchett announced to be playing Lucille Ball, and Sorkin was only writing the screenplay. Amazon would buy it in 2017. They gave them a tax credit to film in California, and then they were meeting with directors in January. Blanchett dropped out of the project when Aaron Sorkin came on as a director, and they got Nicole Kidman. And Javier Bardem was then cast opposite Kidman. Because he liked making Trial of Chicago 7, Sorkin wanted to direct this one himself, even though there had been no real talks of finding a director besides himself. Apparently, there was a lot of controversy for Kidman being cast. I don't really remember that, but Lucy.
I remember people being ticked off because it was supposed to be Blanchett, and Blanchett just seemed so perfect that then when
she would have been better.
But no, I will give you that. But I mean, if Blanchett does it, like, I think there's a chance she's actively in the conversation for the Oscar and probably wins it.
She probably wins it. Yeah. But then they add J.K. Simmons and Nina Arianda to the cast as William Frawley and Vivian Vance. They start filming. They add Tony Hale, Alia Shawkat, Jack Lacey, Clark Gregg. From there's really nothing else to it. Here's my only thing that I just found, and you're gonna eye roll, but it's legitimately a thing that a gripe I have with the movie, is that the production design looks like it's on a TV budget, and the fact of that is because they got a set designer from TV, an Emmy award-winning set designer who had not really done a lot of movies. So that's why the set designers are TV people. That's why this looks like a TV movie. Anyway.
I just simply do not agree that this looks like a TV movie, but you know what? If it does look like TV, that would make sense because this is about TV. And maybe it's on purpose. It's on purpose. Sorkin knows what he's doing. He's great and he made this movie great. So is that all you have for context?
Literally, that's all I have on context. I think Blanchett would have been better than Kidman.
So Being the Ricardos, of course, about the life of Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. And it's a great film. It's a great movie. We will start, though. The film starts with the thing that I will legitimately give, I think is unnecessary, which is I don't understand why we needed the fakey interviews at the beginning.
It is my it's my biggest gripe with this movie.
That's interesting that this is your biggest gripe with this movie.
Maybe not my biggest, but it's one of my biggest issues.
I think there's definitely a bigger, obvious. There's a very stupid thing about this movie that I will fully admit, but yes, I can't defend the other thing anymore. But I do think this is like the two main things I dislike. Is the other thing I dislike in this movie, which is I think that it's just a really unnecessary storytelling device.
Yes. Here's my entire reason for why I think Sorkin did it. I think Sorkin wanted to... the opening feels like a diet attempt at recapturing that, like, Trial of Chicago 7 kinetic, where setting the pace fast, click back and forth between everything. but this time it feels super rushed, unnecessary, and whiplash inducing, where it's not like each person gets a moment to breathe. It's just like quick thing, documentary, quick thing, documentary. And the thing that I also found really tacky was like how the guy in the documentary would be like, and here's what you gotta understand. And then Tony Hale, who's playing when he's young, constantly it's like, here's what you gotta understand. I'm like, oh great, so that's clearly supposed to be that guy. But it's like I shouldn't fucking care about the old guy in the documentary. So like I feel like it's a really weird because it doesn't ever pay off. It never pays off. It's just weird that you have some old people being like, this is a crazy week we had back in the late 50s, early 60s with Lucille Ball. It's like it feels unnecessarily pointless, and it grinds the movie to a halt for me every time they come back.
No, that is completely valid. I think I'm doing a West Wing rewatch right now, and Sorkin is actually really good at creating these unique narrative devices. Like Celestial Navigation is just a brilliant narrative device episode. I think this is bad, and I don't understand why he would choose to do this, because I don't even think your Trials of Chicago 7 argument really holds that much water, because this does not have the pace of Trials of Chicago.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it wants to emulate that, but the pacing on that first opening is you had more time to breathe with each person, and then it ended in another sentence. But the thing that they do here is they're like, the girl will be like, or the lady will be like, oh yeah, it was a terrible week, cut, and then they're like back in time rushing over to Nicole Kidman on the radio, and then they're there having their scene. They'll cut back to the documentary people, and it's like they're trying to do that quick cut back and forth, set the pace and the tone of something like high stakes happening. But it's like you could have honestly cold started with just that opening scene without the documentary people.
No, I do agree with that. I think you probably should have just, because a lot of the documentary just feels like unnecessary exposition that you don't need. Yeah. Like, we don't need to understand that I Love Lucy was a very like, I honestly feel like all the information that you want to give us, you could honestly just give us in like 1 or 2 title cards.
Yes.
Like, honestly, like that would actually be a great opening title card. Of nowadays, if a show is a major hit, it gets 15 million viewers. I Love Lucy got 60 million viewers consistently.
That's all you need. That's it.
And then, boom, you start in on the scene with Lucy and Desi making out on the couch. And that's, well, they're not making out on the couch right away, but you start with that sequence. Yeah. And then you get the radio phone call, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. I think that would have been better. And that's part of the reason why I find this movie exhausting, is every conversation that people have throughout this movie, and it's mostly Kidman. If I'm being honest, a lot of the things are Kidman. Like, it's not that Kidman's bad. It's just I don't think it's every time I notice it, it's when Kidman is in a scene. Is every conversation she has with someone is draining, because every conversation is ping pong, back, forth, the way that Sorkin does. But Sorkin's also usually in Social Network, in Moneyball, in Steve Jobs. There's a rhythm. There's a rhythm to it where there's like a break. There's a break in it. Like you'll build and build and build in that dialogue, and you don't realize you're building, and then all of a sudden there's a mic drop, and there's a moment of silence, and we move into the next thing. And we'll like kind of dance, and he'll build it back up. This is just like we start at 11 and we never stop. Like we start up at this pace, and every single time we talk between Simmons and this person, it's this. Every time she talks to Chaka, it's this. Every time Desi and Lucy talk, it's this. And it's always up here, and you never get that moment to go like, whew, except once. And that once is my favorite scene, 2 favorite scenes in the movie. Twice it happens. 2 favorite scenes in the movie. It's Cuban Pete, which is really fucking fun, and it's his big Oscar clip that they played. Those are the only 2 moments where we get a chance to fucking breathe in this movie.
I disagree with that. I think we get a whole lot more places to breathe. I kind of disagree with that assessment. I don't think that's fair. And I also think you're discounting a lot of other great scenes in this movie. I think the grape stomping creation, like I think that's Like, I love getting an actual insight into the creative process for both the scenes in which we do that, and we really get how Lucille Ball's mind works in terms of comedy. I think are both
Sure.
excellent scenes, and I think the grape
I agree.
stomping scene specifically is my favorite scene in the movie.
I like the scene where she fixes the flower like at the table. I think that's the best scene in the movie. But like for me, those are the
Fixing
two
the
scenes.
flower at the table. Do you mean when she
Like
said
like when
her scene?
she's doing the table setting, like they're sitting there and they're finally fixing the scene that like
Yeah.
throughout the entire movie they're like this doesn't work, and then she
Mhm.
finally fixes it. The table setting, whatever, where they finally
Yeah.
get the blocking down. That I think is the
The
best scene in the
flower
movie
thing is
because
a
I think
different thing.
yeah okay, but like the point that I'm making is like that's the best. That's when that movie's rhythm of ping pong, back and forth, this really fits. It really fits in that scene. And I think that's where it works. And I think it works really well there. But like I feel like conversations where it's like she and Desi are just talking somewhere and they're just like even like when they're meeting back like in the flashback where they're like spending the night together for the first time, their dialogue is constantly ping pong dialogue. And it's like it just gets tiring. And I get if that's it's a choice, maybe I guess it's like trying to emulate how fast they both are, but it's like it's unnecessary to me. It
I
gets
I
taxing.
I don't think it's as bad as you're describing, and B, I like it. So even if it is bad, it just doesn't bother me. I don't think it's as
I
draining
don't
as
know.
you're describing.
I think this is the most drained I am by Sorkin dialogue, and maybe that's because most of it I think is completely uninteresting. Like a lot of the moments and scenes in drama just does not hold me. Like a lot of it, I just don't care. I don't connect. I'll be honest, I don't give a shit about J.K. Simmons in this movie. I just don't care about his character.
I no,
I don't.
I think that's crazy. Like I think well,
I
okay.
don't.
If you want to say you don't really care about his arc, he doesn't have one. So sure, he doesn't really have an arc.
I'm saying
But I
just
really
in
like
general what he adds is just crotchety
I
old
I
random like
really like the bar stuff between Kidman and Simmons. I don't think
I think it's
Simmons would have
fine.
been nominated, but I think that
No,
bar scene between Kidman and Simmons is a good scene and is really
it's fine.
comforting, and it does slow you down. So I don't understand you if you're saying you don't like the Simmons
No,
stuff
it
and
doesn't.
you're like,
It
oh,
doesn't slow.
oh, ping pong, ping pong, ping pong. Like
It doesn't. Here's the thing. It doesn't slow them down though, because they sit down and Kidman still talks, and he's like, "Did you know that you learn more when you listen?" And then she talks again. That's the
I
thing I'm
am
saying. They
sorry
keep
that a
ping-ponging.
woman
They
talking
constantly
bothers
ping-pong.
you, but Sarah Polley should have
No.
told you that that was wrong.
No, what I'm saying is the ping pong nature of it, where the movie itself calls it out, they keep doing it. It drives me nuts. I hate them. I love Sorkin's ping pong dialogue, but in this, it's grating. It's like it wears me down. But like, I don't want to like totally harp on all the things I don't like. Like, there's a lot that I don't like, but there's a lot that I like. Like the things I like a lot, bring it up a lot. Like, there's elements to this that I think are really great. I think that Javier Bardem is great. I think all the weird shit about Javier Bardem in this movie is weird because he's great. I think he's super energetic, super fun, and when he gets to be dramatic, it's fucking great. Like my favorite parts to this are when, like Cuban Pete, he gets to be super fun. I love that. I love when he gets to perform. I love when he does like the table reads and he's like being Desi and like getting people to like love, like who just love him. But the part that I love so much is when they're walking and after they talk about getting the executive producer credit, and Tony Hale's like, you know, we were talking, and you really are the title character of the show. You are the I in I Love Lucy. He's like, yeah, yeah, I love that. I love that. And he walks out, he walks up to him, he's like, patronize me again, and I'll rip your lungs out of your fucking throat. And you're just like, fuck, that's so good. Bardem deserves his nomination. I'll stand by it. Bardem deserves a Best Actor nomination for this movie. He's incredible.
I agree completely. I think Bardem is great, and I think that like everything you said, I will echo completely. I think he is. I will actually go so far as to say I think he is easily the best person in this movie of doing the dichotomy of the character being played and the actual actor behind the character. Because that is the one thing on this rewatch that I kind of had to admit, which is I actually think Nicole Kidman is actually really great as Lucille Ball. I think when she is playing Lucille Ball, she's great. I have to admit, I don't think she's a great Lucy Ricardo.
No, she is not.
I will admit that. I don't think she's a bad Lucy Ricardo. But I will admit I don't think she sells being Lucy Ricardo very well. versus Desi Arnaz. I mean, versus Javier Bardem, who sells Desi Arnaz as Ricky Ricardo perfectly. I buy it to a T.
I think that he does so good because Bardem's essentially playing three people, not just two, three. He's playing Ricky Ricardo. He's playing Desi Arnaz, the showman and businessman, and then Desi Arnaz, the real person who deals with Lucy.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually does a really good job differentiating it to the point where he's doing Desi the showman to Lucy, and Lucy falls for it. It's like that's something I noticed a lot. That I really respect and love Bardem's performance in this, and he does like a great tightrope three-handing performance that is subtle in places where it's like, yes, it's a big performance. It's a very big performance. But Bardem is such a good actor that he puts subtlety in places that you're not looking. And like I love his Oscars clip too. I know that the Oscars clip that most people would not pick would not be that. I love it. I don't care. I love believe me, you checked the wrong box. I love that clip.
Wait, wasn't this the year we didn't get Oscar clips, or was that?
No, we did. No, we did. This was the year we got him back.
We didn't get Oscar clips. That's right.
We got him back this year.
Yes.
And it was because because I remember we were so excited to see what the clips were that we were messaging each other. We weren't in person that year, but we were messaging about what the clips would be. And I remember they did that clip. I was so excited to see what Bardem's clip was because I thought it was gonna be Cuban Pete or something, and it was just or the I'll rip your lungs out of your throat or one of his like happy ones. But it was the I fled to this country, Lucy. Believe me, you checked the wrong box. I was like, damn, it's a good clip. It's a good scene.
It's a really good clip. Yeah, no, he is great, and I will say, I really wish we would have gotten the Live Aid treatment of the Cuban Pete performance, of just a full, uninterrupted by the cameras and everything perform. And I know the credits give us like just the audio of it, but like I wish we would have gotten just full Javier Bardem doing Ricky. Like honestly, do it. Just recreate the actual scene from the show when they do Cuban Pete, where Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball are both doing the bit, because I think that would have been really fun.
I remember when we talked about the Oscars too. We were like, what should they do at the Oscars? Because I always pitched they needed to do the musical medley because they had so many musicals out that year. Like the year of the musicals. It was like you have to do a musical medley celebrating Tick Tick Boom and In the Heights and West Side Story and everybody's talking about it. Like celebrate the musical because this was the year it came back. And it was like awesome. But I also said the opening, the cold open, should have been Javier Bardem and Jim Carrey duetting Cuban Pete.
I agree.
It should have been those two doing Cuban Pete.
I back you up on this 100%. That would have been just so much fun.
Right. And especially if you start with just Javier Bardem doing it, and then out in the suit, not even just the makeup, but the suit, is just Jim Carrey just doing the like bongo, shows up, starts doing the bongos in the background, and then you have them like duetting like a whole thing. It'd be great. It would have been amazing. That would have been the best opening of the Oscars ever.
Would have been so much.
That should have happened. But yeah, it was. I think Bardem and Carrey just have such high energy that it'd be like those two together would be a blast. It'd be so fun. Put them in a movie together. They'd be great.
Honestly, like a buddy cop movie with Jim Carrey and Javier Bardem.
Or dueling actors competing for the same part in old age would be great.
I actually like. Let's finally get our Oscar campaign like satire rate movie of like an Oscar race.
Between, these two competing,
and they're like
you could almost do like a fictionalized version of like the Stallone Schwarzenegger rivalry of the early 90s where it was like he got him to do Stop or My Mom Will Shoot just because he knew it was a bad movie. Like just do that with each other. It'd be great. That'd be a good movie.
That would be so. I mean, but you make it more like your Oscar-centric actors. And stuff. But yeah. No, I think that would be so much fun. Anyway, though, I will say, because I ragged on her a little bit, I want to now talk about why I still do think Kidman deserved that nomination and is the best in her class that year. Because I do think when she is being Lucille Ball, she is selling it. And she is great. And I think there's something really calculated and really like, I just really like what she's doing with that performance. And I think it really works. And I think like there's something, I don't inhuman's not the word I'm looking for, but just very like calculated. Just very like calculated. And the way she reacts to things, I just think is so like
I think she's.
not funny.
I think Kidman sells the analytical portions of Lucille Ball very well. I think
Mhm.
she's very good at when it's coming up with the comedy, like how to fix things. She's great. Where Kidman starts to lose me is when she has to play the emotional "I'm a human" outside of work, Lucille Ball. When it becomes like I have to sell that I'm at home and would be jealous and upset and like would be like I don't buy the Bardem Kidman. They're either tearing each other's heads off or tearing their clothes off. I just don't buy that. I buy Bardem's half of that 100% because he's selling it. But I don't think Kidman doesn't sell me on this whirlwind, insane sexual chemistry romance that she has where I love this guy to death. Like I just don't buy her half. I also don't buy her jealousy. I don't buy any. I just don't buy her emotional damage
I disagree with
in this
that.
movie.
I actually think she
I just
sells
don't.
that. Like even in the time when she first meets Bardem, I think she really sells that very well. I
That's
disagree.
okay. So I actually hardcore do not like those flashbacks visually. Because I think what's crazy is that they don't de-age them down like in wigs and makeup at all. Like I think so it's weird to see them like we're like 20 years younger meeting each other, da 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 da, and they look
And
like
to be
they're
fair,
in
it's
their late
supposed
50s.
to just be 10 years earlier.
Isn't it supposed to be like 15 years? Like they're talking about like Judy Holiday and like the
Woody Holiday
pre-born
was literally won an Oscar in
pre
1950.
in 50. I know, but they're talking about it was like
They're talking.
pre-born
She
yesterday.
had just come off of Dance Girl Dance, which was 1940.
Yeah.
Ricardos is set in the like mid 50s, so maybe
Right, so
15.
15 years. Yeah. So it's like 15
Well,
years
okay, I want
younger.
to look up when the Lucy is pregnant episode came out.
Okay. Because I'm like, in my mind, they're supposed to be like 15 years
Oh, no,
younger.
Lucy is pregnant was just season 2, so this was 1952. So like, and that came out in 52. So this happens in 50, and that they're writing it in 52. So like, this is 1952, 1951.
Like, okay, so
So
it's
this is
about
just 10 years.
10 or 11 years. Still, they don't like. They still look a little too old for 10 years. I do not look like if you're gonna get someone to play me from 10 years ago, and you had me right now doing it with no makeup or prosthetics, it would look weird. You
So
age a
yeah,
lot in
no,
10
we should have
years.
just put him in a wig and like caked up makeup like Ben Platt and Dear Evan Hansen.
You can do good de-aging. Like you can do good de-aging, and then
We
like
should have
I
just
think
CGI'd him like Jeff Bridges and Trump.
no,
Like,
but again, you're picking like every bad example in the world. I think that like you can do good de-aging, like not even using VFX. You can just put a little makeup to cover some of the wrinkles and maybe like style their hair a little differently.
I
But to
think this is
me,
a
you
weird.
look you look a lot different in 11 years. So I think that just threw me off hard. Where it's like Nicole Kidman, who looks like she's on the verge of 58, playing like she's 39. It's like what the fuck is happening?
I think this is a weird complaint.
I don't. It's not like a huge gripe. I hate that. I hate that they look super old. Again, it solidifies the TV movie feel of this movie, where this feels like it was made for TV.
I'm
Like
sorry. I don't.
in
As
every
someone
aspect,
who's
this movie feels like it
actually
was made for TV.
watched, someone who's actually watched a lot of the HBO made for TV like
Yes,
biopic movies, this
yes,
does
like
not
Recount.
feel like that. This does
It
not.
does though. It looks like Game Change and Recount to me. It looks
I
the same
knew
and feels
those
the
were
same.
going to be the examples you used, and no, it doesn't.
It
No,
does.
no, it doesn't.
It
It
does.
literally
The
doesn't, though.
if I were to tell you that I think Werewolf by Night and the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special TV movies look significantly better, it's
Okay,
insane.
yes, because those have MCU budgets attached to them.
And you have Jeff Bezos money. It's Amazon.
There's
The
a
same
difference
people.
between what Amazon will give up for being the Ricardos and what an MCU canonical property will.
Okay, Air got Air got less money than being the Ricardos and looked significantly better for the time
I'm
period. It
going to
feels like a
challenge
real
you on
movie.
that because I'm guessing
Look
you
it
are
up.
making that
Look it
claim.
up. Look it up. Being the Ricardos had a budget. Let's see.
Exactly. You don't know.
No, the box office is like not even $1 million. So I'm like, where's the budget? It's Amazon, so they don't release their fucking budgets, do they? That's irritating.
You made that claim completely unsubstantiated.
Kind of, but I can guarantee you, Air had.
You just say things.
I'm gonna find this. But I'm right though. Like I'm absolutely right. Air definitely made Air feels like it I know they did not give a lot of money to Air.
Air's soundtrack probably cost like half the budget of Being the Ricardos.
Air budget film. Air's budget. Air had a budget of $90 million. Being the Ricardos. Budget. 50. Okay, fair. All right, fair. Fair enough. Fair enough. The point being though, this is the most cheaply made $50 million movie I've ever seen. Like, here's the thing: Murder on the Orient. Murder. Okay.
At this point.
No, you did. Murder.
Murder on the argument.
Murder on the Orient Express.
No,
was made for similar money. No, you're about to lose. Shut the fuck up. Being the Ricardos was made for the same amount of money as Death on the Nile and Murder on the Orient Express, and looks 10 times worse than both movies. That's what I'm saying.
We are moving on. I am not acknowledging any arguments you make because you're just gonna say things. Like we've proven, you just say things. You don't know. You just say things and hope you turn out.
What I'm saying is though, this movie looks
Pluto is actually a moon. Martin Scorsese went to Canada and had sex with Alanis Morissette.
Maybe. It's possible.
Morton is not circumcised.
All of these could be true statements. I don't know. Anyway, so
exactly because you just make things and you're not sure.
Okay, but the point I'm trying to make is that the Being the Ricardos looks bad. It's a poorly for the money that they put in, it looks cheap. The movie just looks really cheap, and that's what frustrates me. You have $50 million behind the movie, or $50 million behind the movie. And it is just looks like you made it for maybe $1,000. It's unfortunate, and I don't like it. So anyway, but like Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile look better than made for similar money. So like that's what irritates me.
Also, I don't think they were made for the same budget as Being the Ricardos.
$50 million for Being the Ricardos, and Murder on the Orient Express's budget is $55 million. They're made for literally almost identical amounts of money.
Are you sure you've got the right one?
Murder on the Orient Express with Kenneth Branagh in the poster. 2017, Murder on the Orient Express grossed $102.8 million in North America, $250 elsewhere, against a production budget of $55 million. It was a mid-budget film. Google it. I'm saying Being the Ricardos and Murder on the Orient Express are a similar budgetary range.
I'm surprised that they were able to get all those people in that movie for just $55 million.
But that's the point I'm making. Is like Being the
I think that's a movie of very
here's the thing. The production design in Murder on the Orient Express is great. In fact, it's nominated for a lot of stuff before the Oscars. Like precursors were giving Murder on the Orient Express a lot of love there. The costumes, the sets, and the production design of that movie is very good. And they spent $55 million, probably mostly to get those actors and not that much on the production design. So for the same amount of money, Being the Ricardos looks worse than Murder on the Orient Express in a movie that should look better. It should look bigger.
Apples to oranges at the end of the day.
I'm not. Both are period pieces with very elaborate sets that you can build. And instead, Being the Ricardo looks like it was shot on stage C with no extra budgets.
Being the Ricardo is taking place on stage C.
I'm not talking about when they're actually filming the show. I'm talking about when they're in the houses and at the parties and out at the club. All of that looks like it's on sound stages that were made for $100.
No, it doesn't.
They look like they do. They do. They honestly do.
No,
they look like they look
fine. I think you're just weird about this.
I'm not, because I think Hail Caesar is
substantiated claims.
I just use facts. I just use facts and beat you. You fucking idiot.
Got lucky. You shout.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you.
No, I didn't. I knew for a fact it was a mid-budget movie. Oh my god.
What was the airplane then?
The air claim is me not realizing it cost $90 because I thought it was a mid-budget movie. Murder on the Orient Express, I knew. Murder on the Orient Express, I knew. Murder, I knew. Sorry, but if we're going to talk about just saying things, this movie is bad. Fuck you. And now I'm just saying things. So here's the thing. Okay, we're going to move on to this part. We spent way too much on production design on a movie that is not nearly that important about production design. But, like, I just think the movie looks cheap. And it's unfortunate. But I think, let's get to the big thing. The big thing that you fought forever was good. I want you to talk about it and admit that it's not good and that it is actually the most frustrating element of the movie.
I'm so tempted to double down now and just be like, no, it's good actually, because I'm frustrated. You know what? No, I'm going to make my argument. Look, J. Edgar Hoover made a whole lot of phone calls. We don't know. We don't know. He was tapping other people's phone lines. We didn't tap it. We didn't know what was going on.
I thought you were about to quote Clue, and I was about to start laughing so hard. He's on everyone else's phones. Why can't he be on mine? Oh my god. See, here's actually something I just realized. The reason why J. Edgar Hoover works in Clue and not here is because Clue is a fucking comedy. And it's a great joke. And it being the Ricardos, it is a completely sincere get out of jail free card with no setup.
Here's the way I think you fix that moment. You basically have afterwards Desi just straight up admit it's bullshit.
Yes.
I think you can literally fix that moment with one line of dialogue. Like, you have it, and like Desi Arnaz does that. And then Kidman Lucille Ball is like, how did you get J. Edgar Hoover? And Desi is just like, I didn't.
That's great. You know how you make it even slightly better? Is what you do is they walk back and they go and they do how'd you get it? He goes, I didn't. And around the corner is J.K. Simmons. Then J.K. Simmons actually has added weight to the story.
I actually that would have worked.
That's the thing that I would say that would make it more okay. I still don't love it. I don't love that the entire crux to get out of this super difficult communism thing is, instead of just getting in front of people and being like, guys, and Desi making some impassioned Sorkin, speech that he's so good at, instead of just being like, guys, it doesn't matter where you're from, and look at me, blah, 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 that whole thing, and do this really passionate American whatever, like one of his West Wing speeches. Instead, it's just, oh, checkmate, J. Edgar Hoover, what? I pulled the heart of the cards out of my ass and just, boom, J. Edgar Hoover's going to win this one for me.
Blue Eyes White Dragon, J. Edgar Hoover!
Literally. I think it's the dumbest. I didn't like it in theaters too much, and the more I think about it and the more I watch this movie and see it, the more frustrating it gets. Where it's because this movie up to that point is actually gearing up for such a landing that it's about to stick. It's gearing up for an absolute dunk, home run, walk off. Great, you get to stick the landing and leave, even though you were shaky in the middle for me, because you check the wrong box. You have all these scenes leading up to it, in the direct lead up, where you're like, oh god, we're going. Both these performances are firing. We're about to crush, and you think this is going to be his big moment for Desi, one last heroic moment, and it's just J. Edgar Hoover, and you're like, what the fuck? It's it would be different if they set it up, I guess, even, but it just comes out of nowhere.
You're correct. I can't defend it. I like the rest of the movie. Let me have my garbage. Let me have my garbage. I enjoy it. It's all Hollywood, and Javier Bardem is great, and I like Nicole Kidman, and the freaking Fred. Here's the thing: J.K. Simmons is a great William Frawley. He is perfect for William Frawley. And you might be saying he didn't do much. Well, neither did William freaking Frawley. He was in Miracle on 34th Street for like 2 seconds. He's also with the Lemon Drop Kid, and he plays a Santa, tries to punch people. That's a thing that happens. It's funny that he was in Miracle on 34th Street and also another Christmas movie, but he was great. And you know what? He maybe should have been nominated for an Oscar, but you know what? I don't give two craps. The lady who plays freaking Vivian Ethel, whatever her freaking name is, she's great too. She was fine. I liked her. She's good. Everything's
It's a great moment.
Movie. Screw you. It doesn't look like a TV movie. You don't know what a TV movie is. Minutemen. Now that's a TV movie. Jason's Dolly, Luke Benward, Nicholas Braun. That's a TV movie. Freaking J.P. Manux, the principal from Phil of the Future, was in that movie. Chelsea Kane from freaking So Random was in that. No, she wasn't in So Random. I'm mixing her up with that other lady. But there were too many blonde women on Disney Channel.
Mike, clip this out because I see too many blonde women on Disney Channel is a goated line. So genuinely, Ethel Merman person is great.
Say Ethel Merman.
Yeah, Ethel Merman lady. Ethel's good.
Ethel Merman's a complete
no. Oh, I'm aware.
That's the lady from It's a
Yes. I know the name Ethel Merman. It's not that. But Ethel.
Oh man, I didn't take the trash out or put it back in. I need to do that.
Ethel is good, has a really good scene actually where they do the where she talk about her weight loss and she's like, I need you to gain it back, and she's like, why? And she's like, because you're afraid I'll look like you. She's like, no, because most of American women look like you, not me. And I was like, interesting. I think there's actually a little bit of a problematic like undercurrent to that to me, where it feels a little weird. I can't really put my finger on why, but that feels a little weird and a little like patronizing.
I mean, it's definitely like 1950. But here's the thing: I don't think you can judge this because I don't think it's actually trying to say anything about what is about like this is a good thing or this is a bad thing.
No, it's not. I'm just saying it feels weird to me.
And that happened.
No, I agree. And I'm taking it at face value. I think it's a good scene, but like the underpinning of that scene to me feels a little weird. This is actually probably
start ranting about Avengers Endgame and.
No, so okay, so the you threw me off. Besides Molly's Game, I think this is the most Sorkin's written for a woman, and I think there is a little something that you can tell in his film, like in The West Wing. He's
written about 400 pages of dialogue for Allison Janney, so
right. Well, what I'm saying is that
probably like 1,000,
4,000. But like I think like The West Wing has moments too. Like every now and then, it's rare, but there's sometimes moments where you're like, "Oh, that didn't age well." But that's also from the early 2000s. But to me,
here's the thing: I think there's only, in terms of women, only one scene that really aged poorly, and it's not an Allison Janney scene, and it's not any of the main cast. It's that Sam and Ainsley moment.
I mean, that's fair. I do think the ending of the crackpots and these women also ages a little weird. But
I mean, that's not because of any of the dialogue.
That's not because of Allison Janney. No. I do think the dialogue is weird. But anyway, we have to say
I'm saying the dialogue coming from the women. I don't think there's any problem. I think it's like that. I thought we were talking about female dialogue. I didn't.
That's what I was trying to get at.
Weird because like it's iffy because of John Spencer's dialogue. Like he's Leo.
John Spencer and like all the guys there just being like, these women. And you're like, this is a little weird. This is a little awkward about your coworkers. Anyway, we'll save that for the West Wing podcast. But I think this is the most where he interacts with multiple women in a script, where it's just women one-on-one. And I think those scenes have not a lot, but there's a little bit of a stiltedness to it where you like it's not even like something that I think he recognizes. I just feel like there's a little bit of a thing where it's like Sorkin's not necessarily great at writing female conversation. A lot of the West Wing female conversations are weird, especially in the first season where you have Mandy and CJ conversations where it's like it's a little weird. But like
Mandy, Oh man,
Everything with Mandy sucks. But like,
I
anyway.
just finished season 1 of The West Wing, and it's a really good season of television. But every single time Mandy rears her ugly head, I just want to like blow my brains out. And it's for the record, I want to say this is not Maura Kelly's fault.
No.
Maura Kelly is doing absolutely the best she can with a character who should not be in the show because she's unnecessary, because she is basically just CJ plus Toby or CJ plus Josh or whichever.
Yeah.
Because she's just there.
She's redundant.
She is there to just explain the risks of all decisions to the public, which is what the press secretary and the communications director should be doing.
Right, which is why in further seasons when they relegate it to those two, it actually gives them more drama and depth and interesting things to do.
Yeah.
But anyway, the reason why I bring it up is I think Sorkin writing for women in this movie specifically feels a little off. Not like, super over troubled, like, oh my god, this throws me off the movie and I'm ick sort of way. It's just like a couple moments where I like caught myself watching the movie and be like, you can kind of tell this is just a dude writing women. It's not.
I mean,
quite
you didn't like the women talking in this movie because you don't like women talking. We've established.
I love the movie Women Talking.
Women talking.
Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is I think Sorkin writing women talking to each other feels a little stilted, a little weird. But like, especially the one thing that I think is really on the nose and really kind of weird is when he does the conversation where they talk about how where they talk like they have a character in the 1950s who's talking as if they're from today, talking about I Love Lucy, where it's like infantilizing her and like all the problematicness of her, and how she's like, I'm just looking out for you as a woman. I feel like that scene has a great idea and a great message to it, where you can see Sorkin's having a conversation with the general public about I Love Lucy and defending it, where he's like, I'm going to talk through Lucy about why this show is great till to this day, even if you have criticisms from Twitter. And it feels weird. It's a really out of place.
I don't know. I don't really get that vibe as much as you do, but that's fair.
I do think that scene could have. I just think Sorkin's probably the wrong person to write those conversations. Just being honest. I love Sorkin to death. I am fully of the opinion that there's some things that some writers are the wrong writer to tell the story.
I mean, I will say
I just think that's
the issues Aaron Sorkin should probably just not write about is feminism. Because that's like the 100%. Same thing that West Wing episode. Or not episode, but the West Wing moment with Ainsley Hayes defending Sam, kind of basically kind of sexually harassing a coworker.
Not kind of, entirely sexually harassing a coworker.
Yeah, and then Ainsley is like, no, it's a good thing, actually. It's
right. Bad. There's a lot of weird moments for Sorkin with women, and I think that like the best usage of women in his movies have come from like Steve Jobs and from The Social Network. And again, I think that's a thing where he's able to write the idea of what he wants, and a director is able to fine tune it to what he means. Because I think Sorkin himself is not able to prism himself perfectly into what he wants. And Fincher and Boyle, I think, were able to capture that in theirs. And I think like Molly's Game's a different thing where it's like, it's not women about women to women. That's a lot of her in a man's world standing up, and that's why he's able to handle it well. But I think this is one where it's like, this movie to me specifically feels like Sorkin was probably the wrong person to fully direct. Because I think that there's a lot of things that he does well, like from the physical comedy, the way he approaches certain things, I think he does pretty well. But I think you could keep those elements and improve on the things that he doesn't do well with a Tommy Schlamme, or even if like he got like, I don't know, Boyle would have done well. Like I feel like there's other directors that you could bring in that would have focused him a little bit better and gotten rid of some of the Sorkinisms that I think this is the movie that's most hampered by Sorkinisms that are a little bit negative to the product he's trying to make.
I'm trying to figure out who would have been like a really good fit for this, because I'm trying to think who can do like your old Hollywood biopics pretty well. I'm trying to figure that out of like who.
I mean, the person that I think would be really fun. I mean, I feel like everyone and their mother is like, oh, we need a woman director, get Greta Gerwig. But I feel like there's like some element to Greta Gerwig as a director in terms of comedy that I think would have been an interesting. I feel like it'd been really interesting to let Gerwig play with a bigger budget, classic time period feel, and like play with such a larger than life feminist icon and like do some really cool. I think Gerwig would have been a fun choice, but like
I actually, now that you say that, I think Gerwig would have been fun. I don't think she would probably ever direct something she didn't write, though.
Right, that's the thing, is you would see Gerwig and probably Baumbach do a page 1 rewrite on it, and Sorkin would get, like, a story credit, and then
Yeah.
it loses all of its Sorkinisms. But, like, I think that's the thing. I think you could see honestly, I think Patty Jenkins would be good.
You know who I actually think would do a good job with this?
Sure.
Sarah Polley.
But she only directs things she writes, also exclusively. She's
Is
a
that
writer-director
true?
too. Like, she's a 2-time Oscar nominee for things she wrote. I think she wrote the other 2 things that she wrote or directed.
You might be right. I don't know that for a fact, so I'm going.
I'm pretty sure she only directs things she writes, but I could be wrong. Yeah, no, she's written all 4 of the things she wrote. She wrote and directed Away From Her, Take the Wall, Stories We Tell, and Women Talking.
Fair, valid then.
So yeah, I think if Gerwig was like, I won't write it, I'll just direct it. I think if Gerwig agreed to co-write it and co-author it, that's actually even better.
That's fair.
Even if they're very different styles, I feel like the 2 would balance each other out to find the real truth of a Lucille Ball biopic, and then her touch at the director. I feel like it would be a better movie.
Another person.
The thing is, at that rate, I don't think Kidman plays Ball if Gerwig directs though.
Who do you think plays Ball then?
I think we get Margot Robbie. Because Gerwig and Robbie are close in real life, like pre-Barbie even. Like
that doesn't.
Or maybe you get Scarlett Johansson because of the Baumbach connection.
Honestly, ScarJo I actually think could have pulled it off because she can do comedy, she can do old Hollywood Hail Caesar, and B, she can also do like the more like monotone like type of thing.
I can see ScarJo doing everything Kidman does well, better, and also doing all the elements that I don't think Kidman does well, even better. And I also fully 100% buy her and Bardem's chemistry. I would 100% buy that relationship to a T.
Yeah,
it's just like 2 beautiful people who are like.
Now that you say that, ScarJo would have actually been very good.
I think if you have Gerwig directing, ScarJo and Bardem starring, I think this is a better movie. I just think it's a better movie.
That's fair.
I still think it's great.
I still think it's great.
Fair. So then this movie comes out. Limited release. It played in my theater in East Grand Forks, Minnesota as part of its limited release. I saw it opening day. I went to see it because I was so excited. And I walked out going, yeah, like, it was pretty good.
I saw this movie on 11 a.m. on a Thursday or a Friday. Actually, no, on a Friday. I saw this on 11 a.m. on a Friday.
Did you bring all your old folks home people with you? Is it like a little field trip?
I was not. I was working there at the time, but no, I did not bring this. This movie would be way too risque for them.
Oh, Ethel could not get behind the Desi Lucy on the couch with just her legs and bare shoulders showing. Yeah, okay. That's fair.
Yeah, no, like
that's fair. It was released limitedly. It made about $450,000 opening weekend. Opening day made about $150,000. That's all the numbers we have reported from actual theatrical gross. Prime Video doesn't give out numbers. It came out to about a 60 out of 100 on Metacritic. Mixed average reviews. Most people are saying it's pretty okay. The smokiness of Ball's voice and the black and in the black and white, while that's used for scenes from the sitcom to physical resemblance is uncanny. It's Kidman playing one Lucy as that Lucy plays another. They said people criticized Bardem for not looking like Desi. They said, but other people said that's not a problem, since what Bardem does convey, and it matters a lot more, is Arnaz's babaloo gusto and coiled spring alertness. They said, while no one is going to mistake either Kidman or Bardem for either of their real life counterparts, they were hired to be actors, not mimics, and do a terrific job bringing to life the spirit of their characters, off-camera lives, illustrating a full, complex adult relationship. That's mostly what everyone was talking about. The biggest issue was that there's a big controversy of Bardem playing a Cuban American actor despite being a European actor, and that Hollywood has a well-established history of hiring Spanish actors to play characters from the countries that Spaniards colonized. Sorkin defended the casting, saying having an actor who was born in Spain playing a character who was born in Cuba was not demeaning, and wasn't just the casting consultant who agreed. Lucy and Desi's Cuban American daughter didn't have a problem with it, so I'm very comfortable with it. Which I'm like, that feels. I feel like that response is not the most well like tailored response from Sorkin. It feels very hand wavy and kind of like it's the thing where it's like I can't be racist. I got people of that race to say it was okay. It's like that feels a little hand wavy, like of people's problems. I feel like that's a little, but I get what
I
he's
think
saying.
Sorkin is just bad at responding to those types of things.
Yeah.
Remember like that interview with like about Jeremy Strong? I think he just
Yeah.
like is just not great at responding to those types of things. He has a very Josh Lyman approach to a lot of those things, and
Right.
it makes sense because he's Josh Lyman.
One major newspaper accused Bardem of cultural appropriation while noting that Arnaz was a direct descendant of families from Spain. And then, yeah, there's a lot of people who are mad at it. And additionally, it was also pointed out that one of the key principal tenets of the film was the point that in 1953, Arnaz had personal issues with communism because his family had been kicked out of Cuba because of communism was incorrect, as the much later communist Cuban Revolution did not take over the island until 1959, and the Arnaz family had migrated to the United States in 1933 as a result of the revolt of the Sergeants, not the Castro Revolution. So that whole plot point is not factually accurate at all. If Sorkin would be like, I'm not here to tell you the truth, I'm here to tell you a story, would be his exact response because he's done that 1,000 times before.
I actually also am fine with that part of it because I think that I don't want to read a Wikipedia article. I want to watch a movie.
So this movie goes on to be nominated at the Golden Globes in the year where the Globes are almost entirely irrelevant. Bardem, Kidman, and Sorkin are all nominated. Sorkin for Best Screenplay, continuing the trend of him being nominated for every movie he's ever made post Malice. Kidman wins the Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Drama. Bardem is nominated for Best Actor in a Drama. I remember that year where that year was so spread out on who was going to win what in actress. It was kind of wild.
It was spread out, and then Chastain just like started winning everything, and it was
she just kind of won. I think she won a lot of things in that race by default, like in a lot of ways by default.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it was a weird thing when the nominations were coming out. Everyone was like, "What is happening?" Because
Gaga got snubbed.
Well, everyone was missing everywhere. Like there was always a big performance that like missed in like every single one. And like the Gaga was the only person to like make every single precursor.
She was the only person to be nominated at every precursor but the Oscars. It was such a weird thing too, because Gaga's not even that good in House of Gucci, but like everyone unanimously was like, she's good enough to be in our 5. And the Oscars were like, no, she's not. They were like, no, she's not at all. It was so weird.
I still haven't watched that movie, and I don't want to.
God, you almost have to just experience the Italian of it all. But Kidman,
I really don't, but I also really do want to watch Jared Leto as Paolo Gucci.
I need you to watch at least one scene of him as Paolo Gucci. Just one. We'll watch it after this. I'm going to show you one scene of him as Paolo Gucci. It's the greatest thing ever. Okay.
Remember that one? Remember when like it was totally possible that he could have gotten an Oscar nomination? Because
he was nominated for SAG. Every person was like, he'll get nominated. He's Jared Leto, and it's a big over-the-top performance. And I saw the movie, I was like, no fucking shot. I was just like, no fucking shot. Is that an Oscar?
SAG always throws just a random kind of bad one in there. Like they did it with Eddie Redmayne and The Good Doctor. They'll just make a really
Redmayne's not bad in The Good Doctor. It's just a not remarkable performance in a not remarkable movie.
Wait, what did I call it? Did I call it The Good Doctor?
Yeah, it's The Good Nurse.
The Good Doctor is the Freddie Highmore show.
TV show, yeah.
Everyone is like,
I didn't even catch you.
Have you seen a meme from the Good Doctor? I am a surgeon.
So Kidman beats essentially the exact Oscar class that she loses. The only person who's different is Gaga, swapped out for Penelope Cruz. But she beats Chastain, who goes on to win. She beats Olivia Colman, and she beats Kristen Stewart in the same category at the Globes.
For whatever reason, I thought Stewart didn't get nominated at the Globes.
She did. Stewart's only snub was the BAFTAs.
I thought that was like because everyone thought she was out of the water, and then she gets back in.
I think she missed Critics' Choice and BAFTA. That's what it was, because Critics' Choice didn't give it to her, and BAFTA didn't give it to her. I know BAFTA didn't because everyone was like, "Oh yeah, it's because she's playing Princess Diana and it's the British." Like, it was like a whole weird thing. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't remember. But Sorkin gets the WGA nomination. This gets a PGA nomination. At the Critics' Choice Awards, it's nominated for Kidman for Best Actress, J.K. Simmons for Supporting Actor, and Sorkin for Screenplay. Sorkin is nominated for Screenplay at every precursor again and misses. The Academy Award, where the only nominees are Bardem, Kidman, and Simmons. None of them win. All three performances are nominated. Bardem losing to Will Smith, Kidman losing to Jessica Chastain, and J.K. Simmons losing to Troy Kotsur. All of which I think are, with the exception of Bardem, are fair losses. I think Bardem is better than Will Smith by a lot. But then again, Bardem's not my winner in the class, to be clear. I'm team Andrew Garfield should have an Academy Award all day. But Bardem's great. But yeah, that's essentially everything I have on Being the Ricardos. So that gets us to the end of the Aaron Sorkin series, where all we have to do is rank it. So for me, I'd put this at number 8. It'd be my number 8. I'd go 10 Charlie Wilson's War, 9 Malice, 8 Being the Ricardos, 7 Molly's Game, 6 A Few Good Men, 5 The American President, 4 The Trial of Chicago 7, 3 Moneyball, 2 Steve Jobs, and 1 The Social Network.
10 Malice, 9 Charlie Wilson's War, 8 The American President, 7 Being the Ricardos, 6 Molly's Game, 5 A Few Good Men, 4 Trials of Chicago 7, 3 Moneyball, 2 Steve Jobs, and number 1 The Social Network.
I had this weird sinking feeling that you were gonna put this like above A Few Good Men. I just like you were just gonna be like, "Fuck y'all, it's my number 5." I was gonna be like,
it was never gonna go above A Few Good Men. Before the rewatch, it was above Molly's Game.
Jesus, wow! So you thought it was his second best directed work?
Yes, I did. Well, I used to think it was his best directed work, and then I rewatched Trials of Chicago 7.
That's so nuts. Anyway, so that's it. We've done it. We've covered the 10 films written by Aaron Sorkin. Next time he writes a movie, we'll come back and we'll cover that movie and we'll revisit it if he ever writes or directs or does anything again. We'll come back to Sorkin. Eventually, we'll be doing a West Wing podcast with you and Scully. It'll happen at some point. But Boat, the next series is all you. This is all you're doing. Who are we covering? What are we talking about? What are the next 7 weeks of my life going to look like?
It's the Nightman. I actually don't think he was the Nightman, but whatever he was, and It's Always Sunny thingy, whatever he was.
Nightman and Nightman. I don't think he's either. I think that's Charlie Day, but yeah,
that's fair. Anyway, Danny DeVito. We are specifically doing his directed work. So next week we are talking Throw Mama from the Train. Koho's never seen it. I'm very excited for his reaction to this. It's going to be fun.
Are you ready? Here's the thing. I for prep months ago, I watched Strangers on a Train. So I've seen Strangers on a Train going into this. So now I know what this is going to be making fun of, or at least riffing on. The other thing is, I have never seen a movie directed by Danny DeVito, including Matilda. So this is going to be wild, entertaining, fun. I have no idea what DeVito looks like as a director. I have only seen him offer me an egg in these trying times and be a great supporting actor in movies I like. So
I'm very curious. This is going to be very, very interesting. I'm excited for this. Yeah, let's see how this goes. So next week, we're throwing Mama from all the trains. Have a good one.